Ladies and gents, and welcome to CG Reaction. This is True Stories About Chimps by the channel Salmonella Academy. Yes, another Sam video like always. This is about the chimps. Well, only famous story I can think of about chimps is chimp named Ham. I think he was the astronaut before humans ever went to space. Astronaut of NASA. So not much of astronaut, you could call him that, but he was sent to space. He was taught things. First of all, he was put inside some kind of a capsule that encased his body, so he didn't have any movement there. So that way they could teach him how to stay stationary inside the rocket capsule. Otherwise, that would cause issues. But imagine being that chimp. You're a chimp. Obviously, you only thing you know is how to move around, jump from place to place. That's what chimps do. And now he's in this capsule where he can't even move. The level of anxiety that would cause is just ridiculous. And they use shock collars and lots of things to train the chimp. It's just horrible. They were taught that if you see this signal, push that button and things like that. So he was sent into the space. Then he was trained to push certain buttons at certain times that would make sure the capsule returns back on Earth. He didn't do that. So NASA astronaut basically shocked him over and over again until he complied. And then he obviously pressed button, he came back, and while he was coming back, the video captured him smiling. So people like, he's happy, so this is good. Yeah, he's an astronaut. But chimps don't know all these things. Chimps doesn't have desire to be an astronaut. Later, some psychologists saw that and said that is the most frightened chimp I have ever seen. So he was smiling, but he was frightened at the time because all the things were happening around him. He was shocked over and over again. That's just horrible. But that's one of the successful chimps that went to the space and came back, and he survived. So that's just ridiculous when I think about it. So I don't know which stories Salmonella is going to cover here, but it's going to be awesome. And I've reacted to quite a few Sam videos by now, 30, 35 or so. So if you haven't seen them, check out the cards. There's a playlist I've created for it. Check out the other playlist I've created for history, unbiased history Roman by the Doherty, mystery investigation like Laminos videos. There are lots of playlists I've created. Check out the card for that. Check out the link in the description with all of my videos in it. And if you like my reaction, like and subscribe to support the channel, and I would know which type of videos to react to more. So let's watch this one.
Hey kids, so we all know that, as far as living things go, humans win, not even a contest. But it turns out if you hop to the next genome over and look real carefully, you can actually see a basic version of a lot of the stuff that makes us so great. Here's some stories about what chimpanzees can get down to in the right context. Talking about chimp tales? Now, North Korea's Pyongyang Central Zoo.
Alright, the way he said, obviously in DNA, we only have point something percent difference between chimps and us. Neil deGrasse Tyson says that maybe that just few percentage difference between chimps and us is not that significant. Maybe what we call all the advancement is not that much advanced, because if another species we found, another alien species that are in the same way that we are advanced from chimp, just few percentage DNA difference. Imagine another species that is in that same sense is few percentage DNA better than us. The level of science and the knowledge they would have, we would be like chimpanzees blithering idiot in front of them. So maybe the advancement that we think of is not that high. I mean, chimps can do whatever our toddlers can do. So basically, this alien species toddlers would be able to do all the serious science stuff that major scientists do around the world. That's just ridiculous when you think about it.
Has a colorful history, from its humble beginnings as literally just 50 badgers and a fence, to the parrot they taught to recite poetry praising Kim Il-sung, to being the only place in Pyongyang where you can look at a dog legally. It seems the only thing that's remained constant throughout this zoo's life is that it's fucking depressing. Fortunately, both workers and animals alike found ways to cope, one of which is smoking. Azalea the chimp is currently 13 years old and is one of the shining stars of Pyongyang Zoo, purely for her ability to burn through over a pack a day.
Like that baby.
I like a good old-fashioned
somewhere.
smoking chimp as much as the next guy. But whereas most zookeepers would probably try to talk her out of something so unhealthy, the North Korean ones actually gave her supplies, just like, feeling trapped, welcome to the club, pal. Her skills are actually pretty impressive.
I mean, in North Korea, lots of people are trapped. It's a oppressed country. Why would they care about a damn chimp? You can smoke. Yeah, there you go. That's an attraction right there. Why not? Give him smokes.
Not only can she use a lighter, but in a pinch, she also knows the old schoolyard trick of lighting one ciggy with the other. Just a shame that her mind wasn't put towards something a little more healthy or productive. Nah, you know what? That's pretty dope, actually. I'm happy with that. Flashback to 1954. A chimp named Congo was born in the London Zoo. Little did anybody know, this ape was a prodigy. Out of curiosity, one of his zookeepers, named Desmond Morris, decided to give Congo a pencil and a piece of cardboard to see what he'd do. Almost immediately, he started drawing some rudimentary lines and shapes. Morris was like, whoa, and decided to let him try painting on for size. And what he saw was incredible. Congo created these beautiful renderings with a blend of realism and self-expression that would make even the great masters stare in awe. Nah, just fucking with you, they're garbage. But for a non-human, there's still something to be appreciated here. Congo had at least a very basic sense of composition. Like, you can see there's some balance to the images. Matter of fact, when his handler would make shapes on one side of the page, Congo would deliberately mark up the other side to maintain some kind of symmetry. He also had an artist's sense of self-entitlement, because whenever his owner tried to take away a picture before Congo thought it was finished, he'd literally go apeshit, all throwing a fit and screaming till they gave it back. But hey, painting done by a chimp. You know who likes pointless novelties like that? The incredibly rich. In 2005, 3 of Congo's paintings were up for auction next to works by 2 obscure little artists known as Andy Warhol and Pierre-Auguste Renoir. And while the 2 actual artist pieces went completely unsold, these 3 beauties got picked up for the scant price of over $25,000 US. And the guy was like, wow, I felt something for a second there. I really like the watermark on this, by the way. Like, this is my painting done by a chimp. Anyway.
Yeah, that's really stupid. Look at the LME stock for really. Okay. I mean, yeah, when it comes to art, people are really stupid. I saw a video somewhere, I don't know from where, which show it was from, but somebody bought an art where, somebody just sellotaped, taped a banana to the piece of paper and calling it an art. And people actually bought that. Imagine the guy who made that. Like, man, this was supposed to be satire. This was supposed to be a joke. You actually bought it. How stupid are you?
Anyway, next we have this beast called Washoe. Washoe was the first non-human creature to learn to communicate through sign language. That's right, eat shit, Coco. Prior experiments in chimp communication had attempted to teach him some basic spoken language, but after realizing that chimps are physically incapable of making most of the noises we do, they decided signing would be the better option. Washoe was raised in an environment similar to what a human child would experience, complete with toys, clothes, chores, and even being allowed to sit at the dinner table, in spite of what the Bible clearly says about that. The scientists raising Washoe made sure to only communicate in American Sign Language around her, in the hopes of establishing a true conversational rapport. Initially, they took a traditional Pavlovian approach by rewarding proper use of a new sign with food and tickles. But there were a couple problems with this. Firstly, the simple action reward setup meant that Washoe didn't have to really understand the words she was signing, the same way a parrot saying I love you in a YouTube video always does it with those cold, unfeeling eyes. Secondly, Washoe would break into a laughing fit whenever they tickled her, to the point where the lesson would be essentially over. So the researchers abandoned this and instead just let her learn through observation of her caretaker signing, with much better results even in the total absence of reward stimuli. And the only downside was that the job title of designated chimp tickler ceased to exist. In total, Washoe learned around 350 individual signs in ASL, and she'd even use these to formulate novel phrases for new objects. Like one time she wanted to talk about a thermos, but didn't know what a thermos was. She goes, metal cup of drink. Hey, scat! A similar story comes from a chimp named Lucy, who was raised by one Dr.
Why does Sam do that? That's just, that's just too heavy, man.
Maurice Temerlin and his wife Jane. The tale of Lucy's life is why this woman is now officially the 3rd most famous woman named Jane who worked with apes. In the same vein as Washoe, the pair attempted to gain some insight into Lucy's weird chimp noggin by raising her like you would a human. Dressing herself, using silverware, making tea, looking at magazines, pretending she knows what a word is, all that jazz. But as Lucy matured, things took an ugly turn. For one, since she was brought up in a basically human environment, she eventually discovered the time-tested human pastime of alcohol. The pair would leave bottles of gin around their home with Lucy, which, I don't know how you'd make this mistake twice, but it was apparently a common occurrence for them to leave her alone for too long and come back like, honey, I think the monkey's fucking wasted. Again. Another one of her hobbies was sculpting crude human.
I mean, yeah, chimps are so close to the humans DNA wise. I mean, obviously, you'd see all similar traits. Obviously, the monkey is going to be alcohol. This is awesome. Keep drinking that. It's uncanny to think how similar we are in lots of sense. I mean, it understood over 350 sign languages. It can talk, things on its own. I mean, that's really close to the human-like. I mean, it acts like a human toddler. I mean, it's really close to human-like. And you hear the laboratories does some kind of experiments on them. It's just inhuman. I mean, one of the experiments I remember somebody said, I don't remember who said it, but they just want to see how much mother loves their kids, and they did experiment on chimps. So what they did was put some chimps with their babies in some kind of a test environment. They heat up the floor. So all the chimps picked up their baby and held them. But after some times the floor got so hot, they put their babies down and stood on them. That's just awful. That's an actual test. Somebody did that. That's so horrible, man. These are not some brainless animals. As you can see, they are really close to humans. So that's just atrocity that happened. It's just horrible thinking about it.
Heads out of poop. Her own poop, to be clear. They also left some copies of Playgirl magazine around for Lucy to flip through, which she became very fond of. So fond, in fact, that she was caught multiple times, having relations with the vacuum cleaner. I don't understand the mechanics of it, cause no source I found ever went into detail, and believe me, I wanted to know as much as you do. All I know is that, all things considered, some pretty exemplary tool use there. So the pair saw this and they were like, alright, we gotta get this chimp laid, and fast. But the problem was, Lucy was conversing with people, eating with people, flicking the old chimp bean to people, so it's not a stretch to think that Lucy thought she was people. So imagine you're people, and you get thrown into an enclosure with a full-grown, horny male chimp. You'd have a fucking panic attack, and that's just what Lucy did. As the years went on, Lucy got more and more violent, regularly trashing the place to get out the frustration of not being able to comprehend what was so fundamentally unnatural about her existence. Finally, the couple had had enough and decided to take Lucy to a primate rehabilitation center in the Gambia, with the hopes that she could be forced to acclimate to primate life. She could barely cope with it at first, getting real depressed and hardly associating with the other apes. Which you'd be depressed too if you had to give up a life of American luxury complete with booze and vacuum fornicating to go live with chimps in the wild. But with the help of a graduate student named Janice, Lucy eventually came to accept her fate, and although she'd never mate with another of her kind, she ended up getting along with her troop well enough. About a year after leaving,
I mean, yeah, you learn lots of sign language and lots of things of humans, and then you go back to the just stupid wild chimps. I mean, how is that going to work? It's like right now we being us, all these civilized people, going back to some kind of a enclosed tribe that haven't seen anything from the outside. They just wear leaves for clothes and things like that and go live there. How would that be? So that's what it was for her, I guess.
the rehab center, Janice came back to visit, and Lucy gave her a warm embrace before waddling back to the rest of the chimps. Aww. Then Lucy got poached like a fucking egg, which kinda puts a damper on the whole happy end.
Another year later, Carton returned and found Lucy's corpse. She had been decapitated and her hands had been hacked off. Oh, what the fuck? Chimps poaching for what?
But, whatever. So if there's one lesson to be gained from all this, it's that the best way to learn something is to be immersed in it and to make it part of you. While treats are good for making dogs do backflips, true comprehension comes from integrating new things into your daily life. And what better way to do that than with some free audiobooks? Sponsor time. Listening to audiobooks inspire.
Yeah, people, go to audible.com/salmonella and support that channel. This was a good stories that he found out. I like this video. I mean, it's just sad to see what happened to that chimp, man. I mean, she got murdered that badly. She was, mingling with humans, had human traits by then, sign language, understood things, saw the magazines, things like that. Had to go back to the wild chimps, and then she was killed like that. That's just horrible, man. The experiments where, humans do on chimps are just so effed up. It's not even funny. Alright people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the other reaction I did. There's a link in the description with all of my videos. Check out the end cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.